on. And Gary, welcome back to the program once again, and thanks for getting into that settlement part of this whole discussion. Now, the impact. I'd be very, very interested in hearing about your analysis here of how this is going to, reach into the industry and maybe, give people some pause and maybe take a look at how the FTC is coming down. That 20-year piece is, wow, that's tough.
Yes, look, entering into these settlements is a serious thing, and they have real consequences on a company. I think in looking at the impact, one of the challenges is that we don't have in the United States one overarching privacy law that addresses all of these issues. We have a piecemeal approach to privacy in the United States in which we have specific laws that may address healthcare privacy, financial privacy, children's privacy, but there is not one overarching standard. So then the question for companies is, well, if there's no one standard, what am I supposed to do to comply? And that's when we look at these settlements to see what is the trend and what is the thinking from our federal regulators on what's important. I think some of the takeaways here is that companies need to think a little more outside the box and act as a typical consumer. It's not enough to have information in a privacy policy if the setup and flow of a website would indicate something different to a consumer. That's what they're going to expect. We can't expect a consumer to scroll down to the bottom of the page and read a privacy policy, and that would be the only place where everything is explained. Now, don't get me wrong. Privacy policies are incredibly important. They are very important for companies to do. But it's the beginning of the privacy process, not the end. Once the privacy policy is accurate, the issue then is implementing it and building your services and systems in a way that reflect the promises you've made in the privacy policy.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, all right, what happens if we have a security breach? Information gets out. That was not the situation with Facebook. There was not a security breach. The personal information did not did not leak out to hackers or out onto the internet. When there was a security breach, that's a different framework. We have individual state laws about reporting security breaches both to consumers and potentially to regulators. And this is all on the state level. We have 46 different state security breach notification laws. 4 states have not jumped on the bandwagon yet. And the federal government has been considering a federal law in every Congress, but has not enacted one. So, for those listening on the phone, the issue is in building your systems, you want to make sure you have good privacy practices and clear disclosures. And then if something goes wrong, you need to very quickly analyze the situation with your technical advisors, your legal advisors, and consider what security breach notification laws you need to observe. Joe, I have a few more things I could talk about, but I'm not sure if there are any questions coming in at all.
I'm looking at the chat right now. I don't have anything coming up on the chat right now. I think people are just kind of listening, and I think the interesting aspect of this is the impact, to the industry as a whole, really. Because they're going to look at this settlement coming out of Facebook, and those, people kind of assume that there's 1 or 2 or maybe 3 social media kind of companies out there. We went through this about a year ago. There's well over a couple thousand different companies that are in this space, sometimes for private companies, sometimes public and out there. So this can have a broad-reaching effect, as a federal regulator, right across the United States, not just for social media companies, but even private companies that have social media aspects to them, kind of like their internal network social media thing. And there's a lot of companies we know out there in that space right now that are actually doing that. So this impact statement is kind of, or I should say analysis by you, is really kind of important for people to really kind of be taking a look at.
Yeah, and another thing, I mean, as you mentioned, many people may have a very simple social media service on their own company website, just a little chat room or some community bulletin board or something like that. Another interesting thing that this settlement touched on but didn't go too deeply into is the debate between opt-in and opt-out in terms of using information. Again, in the absence of a specific law in the United States, there is no one requirement about using an opt-in versus opt-out method. To describe that, if there was a sign-up page on a website to sign up for a service and there was a box at the bottom, it could say, unless you click this box, we're going to share your information with third parties. That would be an opt-out method. Or it could say, if you click this box, we will share your information with third parties. That would be opt-in. Now, there are certainly best practices. It is a best practice in the industry to have opt-ins. It is a best practice not to pre-check boxes, but we don't have specific law saying that one method must always be employed over another method.
All right. Well, that's Gary Kybell, everybody, from Davis and Gilbert here in the city, and that's our Facebook FTC settlement. I guess we could go on for quite some time about this because there's going to be far-reaching impacts as we go through this, but obviously we don't have unlimited time today. So, Gary, thank you for your time being with us. We certainly appreciate your thoughtful analysis as well as your review of the actual settlement itself. All right, have a great day, and we're going to move on to our next program, folks.
All right.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, bye now. All right, so that was Gary, and, insightful, definitely, valuable. We tend to think these things are, quite frankly, invaluable. All right, so, obviously when we saw, that there was a Facebook settlement out there, and we were able to reach out to one of our companies where we have one of our members, and then we reached out to Gary. It's a valuable time. I don't have to tell you what these, what lawyers charge per hour. So we really, we appreciate him coming on for 15 minutes with us. All right. Great news, and we certainly do appreciate that. Let me just check that. Good.